Well, on my birthday, there'll be a number of things happening. The main thing will be the finals of a music competition for young people. This is to make the young people understand that they always have something to celebrate in life, and also to give them an opportunity to practice their talents. And the music that you hear now in the background is part of the music competition. We're still in the process of reaching the semi-finals.
And with that music competition, will those young people be able to talk about politics or human rights when they perform?
So far as I can see, most of the songs seem to be about politics and human rights.
And will they perform that to the public then?
Yes, these have all been performed in this office quite openly, and the finals will take place quite openly on my birthday. Everybody who wants to come is free to come to listen.
When we've been speaking with some Burmese youth who have come to Jakarta, they've talked about an apathy or a lack of interest from young Burmese people in politics. Do you get a sense of that? I
think there are some young people who are not interested, but there are also those who are very interested indeed. So I think it depends on which young people you are talking about. It is true that some of those who belong to the privileged circles especially, who are in any case not terribly interested in democracy, are not interested in politics. And then there are also young people who have to work so hard for their living that they can't think of anything except their day-to-day work. But increasingly we find that young people are beginning to realize that if their lives are unsatisfactory, they've got to do something about it.
So the idea of young people singing about politics on your birthday seems like a significant change.
Our young people actually have always been singing about democracy and human rights. We've always tried to do what we believe we should do in spite of all the oppression and in spite of all the restrictions under which we have to operate. But the difference now is that there are more young people who want to take part in what we're doing.
More people than, say, at the peak of the monks' uprising?
I don't know about that because I was under house arrest then, but certainly more young people now than 8 years ago before I was put under my last term of house arrest.
What are some other significant changes that you've seen since that period you were out of the picture, in a sense?
The improvement in communications, to do with the IT revolution, of course. It has found its way to Burma, and although we can't say that we are as far forward as other countries, still the communications revolution has come to Burma to some degree, and that is why I think more young people are interested in what we are doing, because they are more able to keep track of what is happening in this country.
And you've been using video links and other means, digital means, to get your message out. Are you not free, Aung San Suu Kyi, to travel more around Burma or outside the country to a country like Thailand or China to lobby your cause?
Well, I'll be traveling around Burma sometime next month. The reason why I haven't made any trips out of Rangoon up to now is simply because I've had too much work to do here. But we've been trying to make time for trips out of Rangoon, and I think we're going to start these next month. As for traveling out of Burma, I think it's a little too soon for that. I'm not sure that I can count on the present government to let me come back if I should travel abroad.
But you do feel as if you would be able to travel around Burma without restrictions?
I don't know whether or not they will try to impose restrictions. That's entirely up to them. But I think that I have the right to travel freely in my own country.
What do you feel like you've achieved the most in what area since you were released?
I think what has encouraged me most is the speed with which our network for democracy has expanded all over the country, especially with regard to young people and with regard to education. Many things, health, education, lawyers network, but particularly education.
What kind of things? Could you explain a little bit more?
We have started a number of free schools, and these have expanded at a rate which I had not expected. very, very quickly. These free schools are very popular because education in Burma is expensive, even though it's supposed to be a poor country. Even the government education does not come free of charge, and we are trying to provide free education for the people who can't afford to pay for the children to go to school.
Do you think in the long term that kind of action, that people's network or dealing with social issues, will eventually lead to democracy in Burma?
What it's supposed to do is to make the people understand that they have to do what they want to do for themselves, that they should not depend on other people. It's to give them a sense of independence. It's to decrease their sense of dependency, while at the same time empowering them.
Do you feel as if there is too much expectation on you or too much dependency on you to create change in Burma as a symbol and also as a person?
Well, the purpose of the network is to make people understand that they should not just sit and expect others to do things for them, that they should learn to do things for themselves.
We're seeing a lot of change in the Middle East. Is that getting coverage or having a response in Burma?
I think there's a certain amount of censorship with regard to events in the Middle East, but most people know about it, at least most people who are interested in politics, because these days, if you're really interested, you can get all the news you want via the radio or the internet.
Right, and is there a sense that it would have an inspiring effect on people in Burma?
People wonder whether the same thing could happen in Burma, and of course people tend to compare what is happening now in the Middle East with what happened in Burma in 1988 and 2007.
I mean, the big question that our listeners always ask at forums about Burma is, how can outsiders help in the fight for democracy in Burma? What's your response to that big question?
First of all, I think we need to keep up an awareness of what is happening in Burma. We are particularly concerned that nobody should be taken in by the elections that were held last November, and it should not be taken for granted that just because there were elections last November and there is now a so-called civilian government, there's nothing more that needs to be done in Burma. In fact, a lot more needs to be done in Burma, and I'm sure you will have heard that within the last few days, hostilities have broken out between the Kachin organization, the Kachin Independence Organization, and the Burmese Army. Mm-hmm. Now, that is a regression, because there has been a ceasefire agreement for the last nearly 20 years, but hostilities have broken out again. So I don't think we can take it for granted that we are making progress towards peace and democracy.
And this is in a strategic area where China's building several hydro power plants. What do you know about the situation there with the fighting? We're hearing about people fleeing, deaths. What information are you receiving?
We don't know anything more than what we hear on the radio news. I understand that there are some correspondents from various radio stations who have gone to the border. I suppose from the China side, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, we do hear about what's going on at the border over the radio, and I have heard some of the Kachin leaders say that they would like China to intervene.
Yes, because we're hearing of thousands of ethnic civilians trying to flee. That some reports coming through, and it seems that Thailand doesn't want to receive any more refugees from Burma, and China for the last 3 days, there are reports that they're refusing to allow Burmese refugees to cross the border. It's going to be World Refugee Day in a few days after your birthday. Is there anything that you would like to say to China or Thailand in concerns of this Burmese refugee issue?
Yes, the first thing I would like to say is that refugees don't want to be refugees. They have become refugees out of sheer need because there was no way they could avoid the situation. And if they do not want more refugees coming into the country, then I think they should try to help Burma to settle its internal affairs peacefully, which is what we've been trying to do for the last 20-something years.
And what way is that? What could they be doing more to create a peaceful solution in Burma?
We would like them to do whatever they can to help Burma proceed towards national reconciliation. And what we would like, really, is for them to use the United Nations Human Rights Council resolution as a basis for what they should persuade the Burmese government to do.
Do you think it's possible, if the military government did fall, that the Burmese different ethnic communities that live in Burma at the moment could unite?
Unity is something that you have to work very, very hard for, especially if there are different ethnic nationalities. I don't think this is something that will come about overnight, but we have to keep working towards that all the time, and shooting at each other is not the solution.
So would you suggest to these groups that they should take a more peaceful front? Do you support their armed resistance?
I don't think it's all on the part of the ethnic nationalities. It's very much the responsibility of the government. After all, they are the ones who can decide whether or not there should be a ceasefire in the country.
Do you think that there needs to be a more military or a more angry response against the military, a more stronger uprising rather than this peaceful, soft approach?
A peaceful, soft approach, I think it is not quite the way to put it. Peaceful, yes, but it doesn't necessarily have to be soft. I think it was Gandhiji who said that it requires more courage to use non-violent methods than to use violence, because you have to work a lot harder. So just because we choose the path of peace does not mean that we're choosing the soft option.
In terms of listeners in Thailand and India, whose countries are involved in economic projects in Burma, a deep-sea port and other electricity developments, what role do you see as civil groups in those countries? What role could they play in terms of putting pressure on their governments in their economic negotiations with Burma?
I think if they could persuade the government to take a more responsible, a broader view of the situation, because your short-term gains can turn out to be a danger for the long term. I think the most important thing between two countries is not how the governments get on, but how the peoples get on in the long run. And I think if they could make that government see that good relations between the two peoples depend very much on fair play.
What you're seeing at the moment you wouldn't describe as fair play? There's no benefit for the Burmese people of more development?
Well, it's not really fair. It is beneficial, of course, to a certain extent to some people in Burma, but I don't think that it is benefiting the great majority of people in Burma. And this is what I mean by saying that it's important that the countries which are now having economic relations with Burma should make sure that the agreements, the relations that they have established with the government of Burma really do benefit the public at large.
And Aung San Suu Kyi, just finally, what would a birthday wish be if you could have one?
Oh, it's very simple. It's a wish that I think all of us have been wishing for a long time. We would like national reconciliation to come as quickly as possible.
And do you think that is possible? Can you see a day where that would take place in your lifetime, Aung San Suu Kyi?
I very much hope so. We believe that as much as we work, so shall we be able to depend on success, and we work very, very hard.
Someone has asked me to ask you what makes you laugh.
Things make me laugh. Sometimes even the things that this government does make me laugh because, well, sometimes it's just so ridiculous and you have to laugh that you may not weep.
Okay, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. You're an amazing woman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All the best. Bye-bye.